right, well, I'm just driving out the driveway to go pick up more parts. Again, we had some confusion between Windsor and Modified, and even though everything, I went back through the text messages, even though everything was pretty well stated out that it was Modified, a lot of Windsor parts showed up. So I'm just headed back to the parts store I'm just headed to the parts store to pick more parts up. Hopefully everything's correct. This time I'm gonna be a little more diligent and double checking everything before I just grab them and go. And now I'm headed back to the shop. We got a stack of gaskets and seals over there. We got a 351 Modified up on the engine stand there. Right there, I got an oil pan that I gotta clean up and get back on it. The last couple days have been all the non-fun stuff, right? Degreasing, cleaning, scrubbing, getting bolts out, blah, blah, blah. Tonight's actually the night that we're actually gonna see a good amount of forward progress. The goal here, get all this button back up, get the heads back on, oil pan back on, rear main in, caps, blah, 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 frost caps, blah, blah, blah. Get all that stuff on, and then hopefully make it look like an engine again tonight. Well, that's our goal. We'll see. It's about 6 o'clock at night. I'm hoping in about 4 hours we can have it reassembled.
Might be one more. Oh, yep.
I've gotten so used to that Old Spice ring.
Oh, another one.
Another one? It's okay, man. I won't say anything since you're here helping me tonight. All right, so the dream that started so many years ago about putting a different camshaft in this, well, it's happening in 2023. Nothing like delayed gratification, right? Adam just told me I had to correct the time frame. It's actually January 24th, so I'm a little off. It has been a lot of years since I've done this. There we go. We got to read the instructions. So I'm not totally sure. A lot of this stuff's just a refresher, right? I know I've done it, but it's like when you don't do it every day. Now I got to read, because I know there's a vacuum plate. And then, anyways, we'll just fast forward to make it sound like we're really professional. Now we're going to put the double the double roller timing chain on and be good. After I read a whole lot of instructions. Yeah, figure that one out. Okay, Adam was asking me why the roller chain was actually in oil. And this is actually kind of a neat little trick. When I first put it in there, you'll see that there was air bubbles coming out up out of the chain through the oil. And what that does is when you submerge it like that, it allows oil to get in all the little pins and holes and crevices and crannies. And that way you just know you got a well lubricated chain. There's a lot of horror stories of starting these up dry. So actually it's kind of funny. An old school mechanic back in like the 90s, I asked the same question. And then later, years later, I was watching a TV show where they were building an engine, and sure enough, they had the timing chain submerged in oil. So that's why we got a bag with a chain full of oil. But yeah, we're all ready to throw this on, and everything's going together pretty good. And hopefully tonight we can end the night with the heads on. That's my goal. We'll see how this goes. We got this all assembled, and I think I made a comment about reading the instructions. Now, sometimes you overthink it. There's a problem here, and well, I'll own it. If you look right here, there's a dot, and I don't know how I missed it, but there is a 0 mark on your lower gear, and there is this dot, and I have the big gear 180 degrees off. This dot should be down here. These two lines are what you want to do. There's so many ways to look at this. I will stay on the positive side and go, hey, glad we caught it before we got the timing cover on, because once the timing cover was on, we would have got it in the truck, and I've been like, why does this thing not want to run? Because guarantee you, being exactly, having the cam exactly 180 degrees off was not gonna hit. It was gonna backfire, run horrible if it ran at all. So in a weird way, I'll stay on the positive side. I gotta take this off, spin it, make it right. But yeah, sometimes downside of when you're overthinking things. Okay, so I got my phone propped up in the window here because we've actually been double checking a whole bunch of specs and different things on some YouTube videos, different things like that. Now, there's one thing that's really funny. All the videos I've been looking at have been pretty universal, like how to, prime an engine, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the stuff I know, it's just to get that kind of refresher course. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, all these videos have been on Ford engines, even though I'm not putting Ford in the search title.
I wonder. Could mean two things.
Yeah. Okay, so depending on which side of the Ford, Chevy, GM, Toyota, I gotta throw all the brands in there. You can look at it two ways. Well, the Ford actually got worked and that's why it needs to get rebuilt. There's one, or it didn't last and that's why it has to get rebuilt. That too. If you've ever stood in a field and watched your truck go through a ditch, or come back to the shop and seen one of the front ends of your truck just tweak just a little bit, and you know you passed a broken telephone pole, like sheared off telephone pole 2 miles down the road. Yeah.
Dent in the roof.
A dent in the roof.
Twisted hay crack.
Yep. At that point, you weren't thinking about how tough your truck was. You were thinking, where do I hide it in case the sheriff shows up? True story though, right? Hypothetically, this would be a good story if it happened in reality, but it didn't. I know we gotta fill the oil filter.
It's gonna take us a long way.
Yep. All right, now we are at the fun part. And what I mean by that is it took a lot of work to get to this point, between pulling the engine, tearing it down, building it back, and all the prep and cleanup that it's taken to get to this point. This is the point where the real magic happens. And what I mean by that, so right now it just looks like a big pile of scrap iron. But in a couple minutes here, we're gonna start priming it and then painting it blue. Then you can see, for the first time, you can see all the work that was put into this project being worth it. And I'm hoping once we get it painted blue, put it back in the truck, blah, blah, blah. I'm just hoping we take a step back. I'm hoping we can take a step back and just go, yep, totally worth it, glad we did it. Right now, yeah, kind of on the fence. But this right here, this is the point when I've had neighbors and friends and relatives walk in the shop and go, what are you doing? And then a couple days later, they come back when it's all blue and it's done and it looks amazing. That's when they're like, oh, wow. And they don't want to admit. They're a little surprised that someone like yourself did this, but yeah, you did it. There you got it. It is blue, and I'm very happy. It overall turned out really good. It shot really good, and we're gonna let it sit there overnight. And tomorrow we're gonna start trying to put it back in the truck. Kind of looking forward to it.